This is the linear field of view on a GoPro Hero 7 Black, and I'm holding the camera at regular vlogging distance on a grip. And this is what you would see around me and behind me in linear view. And this is the linear view pointing ahead of me up the street as I'm walking along. Gives you a sense of what you can see in linear view. This is the wide setting on a GoPro Hero 7 Black. Again, just holding the GoPro out on a normal vlogging distance from my face. And this is what you would see behind me if I were walking through streets here in Thailand on a wide setting. Turning the camera around, there you can see the street ahead of me in wide. And you see more, of course, of the setting around me on the wide setting, and then the street on the buildings start to feel a little bit curved because the field of view is a little bit distorted, but that is the wide setting. GoPros have a third setting. There's linear, wide, and then there is this field of view that GoPro calls SuperView. So of course, being a SuperView, it is even wider than the normal wide setting, and you see a lot more of the setting around me, and there's probably quite a bit more distortion on straight edges towards the sides. And that is what SuperView looks like on the street ahead of me as I'm walking along. So this is SuperView on a GoPro Hero 7 Black. This is another example of linear view on the GoPro Hero 7 Black. And as I said before, the linear view is a bit narrower than the other views on the GoPro, and it removes the distorted fisheye effect that you might get with wide and SuperView. And this is the linear field of view as I turn the camera around and looking ahead of me. Now I'm on the wide setting on the GoPro, and I'm walking down the same relatively narrow market street here in Mae Sot, Thailand, and you can see what the wide field of view looks like compared to linear. And if I flip the camera around, that is what you'd see ahead of me in the wide field of view. Finally, this is the SuperView on the GoPro Hero 7 Black. And I can't see myself on the screen, of course. There is no screen, but I imagine there's a lot more in the field of view behind me than before. So this is SuperView on the GoPro, and I'll flip the camera around, and there is SuperView ahead of me. A little bit of a dark street, perhaps, because of the narrow rooftops on both sides. I'll do this experiment in one other place where there's a bit more light. So that is SuperView on the GoPro. Just like the two previous tests, I'm starting with linear view on this market street. And flipping the camera around, there's linear view again. The same stretch of Market Street, but this is in wide view on the GoPro. This is wide view. And flipping the camera around. And that is wide view, what you would see ahead of me, or ahead of you if you were using a GoPro. And finally, the last setting and the widest one of all, this is SuperView on the GoPro. Sometimes I feel like I need a rear view mirror on the GoPro. I keep hearing motorcycles coming up behind me, but I can't see them. SuperView ahead of me. This market street is a little bit more open, and I'm starting off as usual with the linear view, holding the camera out in front of me. And there's linear view, aiming the camera ahead of me as I walk. Same stretch of Market Street, but now I've got the GoPro in wide. This is the wide setting on the GoPro. And that is the wide field of view, holding the GoPro pointing ahead of me. And of course I have stabilization turned on for all of these shots. There'd be no point in using a GoPro if you weren't using stabilization. And finally, the widest field of view on the GoPro. This is SuperView. SuperView one more time on the GoPro Hero 7 Black. And pointing ahead of me up the street, that is SuperView. And this is the linear field of view, just looking at a typical building and intersection. Standing in the exact same spot, that this is the wide field of view, the same building. And finally, there's the SuperView, standing in the same spot, same building, same intersection. And just for fun, there's a shot of a typical bicycle in linear view, just putting the bicycle more or less in the frame. And without moving the camera at all, this is the same bicycle but in wide. on the GoPro. And once more, not moving the camera even a centimeter. This is the same bicycle in SuperView. And here is the Mae Sot police station in linear view. Standing in the same place, and there's the police station in wide field of view. Just on the left where you see that antenna tower on the building, that is the First Hotel. It's where I used to stay here in Mae Sot, up on the 3rd floor. And finally, there is the SuperView. And there you can really see the difference because we've got the entire flagpole in the shot now. All of the First Hotel over on the left. And you can see the rain clouds. Apparently there's a typhoon moving in from Vietnam area, and it really feels like it's going to rain here soon. So it's time to get off the streets and get inside, look for shelter. Another shot of a typical street here in Mae Sot in linear view. Oh, seems to be some wet cement. Gotta walk around the wet cement. So this is a linear view. Same street with the wet cement ahead of me, but now in wide. Last but not least, same wet cement street in Mae Sot in SuperView. Gonna walk around the wet cement, cut underneath this awning. And stopping near the same coffee sign to give a different perspective. And of course, if I move this direction, you can see how curved that pole becomes. The further it gets to the edge, the more distorted it becomes. When you move it to the middle, and it's nice and straight as it's supposed to be, and then it becomes very curved on the edge.